Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. All right, NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. It's going to be a fun 16 races. We have Atlanta, Watkinsville, and Bristol. And then we reset to Kansas, Talladega, the Roval. And then we reset to Vegas, Homestead, and Martinsville. And then we have 4 drivers running for a championship at Phoenix. So, way this sets up with 16 drivers. Any one of these drivers can win at any time. We've learned that the last 2 weeks. So the last 2 races, we've had that win and you're in. I know there's been a lot of talk on the internet this week, people hating the win and you're in because it pushed drivers out. But you know what? Some of my favorite drivers, unfortunately, have missed the playoffs due to that. But you know what? I still like the system. Here's why. Back in the day, the old Winston Cup system, we had multiple years where a champion would be crowned champion with 1, 2, and 3 races left. I understand the dynamic of 2024 where we have a $1 billion TV deal. And I think, from my understanding and what I believe is that TV deal was set a lot on the fact that we have these playoffs. It was set on a lot that when we talk about Phoenix, the championship race, we can put that race on a pedestal as a championship race. We're going to crown a champion there. We're not crowning it at Martinsville. We're not crowning it at Homestead or Vegas. We're crowning it at Phoenix. We know when we go to Phoenix, we're going to have 4 drivers running for a championship. Back in the day, the vast majority of the time, you had 2 drivers at the very most, maybe a 3rd driver running for a championship. And most of the time with that, it was 2 drivers that mathematically could, and the 3rd guy was kind of like, mathematically, if X, Y finished here, then that person had a chance if they didn't know. Here, whoever finishes first of this 4 wins championship. You can sell that to sponsors. You can sell that to commercials and vendors and all this, and you can hype that race up. And they have done that. I know a lot of people hate the win and you're in, but I like that as well too, because it gives that, quote, Game 7 moment. I know a lot of people, other motorsports don't have playoffs, so NASCAR is the highest level of motorsports in the world. They're the only one with a $1 billion TV deal. Just because somebody else does something doesn't mean NASCAR has to do it. NASCAR can be the trendsetter. NHRA, by the way, has the 10 race at the end of the season. Just throw that out there. So I think it's a good system. I like it. I hope they don't change it. I like the Game 7 moments winning you're in. I like the fact that we have that last race. So far in the playoffs, they've had to win it. One time they finished 2nd to win a championship. You don't have the days of the champion finishing last. Or the champion, when we get here, all this person has to do, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt, insert name here, they got to finish 28th or better, unless they lead a lap, then they got to finish 29th. But if this person wins the race and gets the most points, this person has to no, we don't do that anymore. Boom. It's clear in system. So we start the playoffs with the playoff points plus 2,000. Kyle Larson's leading the way, 2,040. Here's the thing now. He's got an 8-point lead over Christopher Bell. Let's go back to Charlotte. Let's go back to Indy. Because Kyle Larson and Mr. Hendrick and whomever else made the decision to stay at Indy instead of going to Charlotte and starting the car, that cost Kyle Larson the regular season title. He lost it by 1 point. Finishing 34th or below at Charlotte, he would have got 1 point. So if he would have started Charlotte and blew up on lap 1, he would have got 1 point. They would have been tied. He has the most wins. He has the tiebreaker. He would have had that extra 5 bonus points. So instead of him leading Christopher Bell by 13, he only leads Christopher Bell by 8. That may come back to bite him at the end of the year. That could be the difference between him going from Martinsville to Phoenix. Ask Denny Hamlin about that when Ross Chastain did the wall ride. Christopher Bell's second in points, 2,032. This is his 4th playoff appearance. Larson's at 8 now. Tyler Reddick is 3rd, 2,028 points, his 4th playoff appearance. William Byron is 5th with 2,022 points, his 6th playoff appearance. Ryan Blaney is 5th with 2,018 points, his 8th playoff appearance. Denny Hamlin is 6th with 2,015 points. Now, the penalty he got cost him 10 playoff points because he took the incumbent to the win at Bristol, and he took 5 other points. Took him 75 regular season points out as well. So, from where he was in points, where he would have finished with that 75 points, to where he actually finished, it cost him an additional 3 spots in the playoffs. In the end of the regular season reset, it also cost him 3 different playoff points. He would have finished, I believe it would have been 3rd, and he finished 6th. So that lost him 3 more points. So he actually lost 13 playoff points from that engine issue. When JGR and TRD sent that engine back to California without NASCAR inspecting it, 13 playoff points that cost Denny Hamlin right now. So he's 6th with 2,015 points. He should be tied for 3rd with 2,028 points. So that could also cost him a spot in the championship based on the way I kind of did some predictions here, it did. Chase Elliott, 7th, his 8th playoff appearance. Matter of fact, Denny Hamlin's had all 11 so far. 2014 points for Elliott. Brad Keselowski, 10 playoff appearances, 2008 points. Logano, 10 playoff appearances, 2007. Cindric has 2 playoff appearances. He's got 2007 points. Daniel Suarez, 2006 points. He has 2 playoff appearances. Alex Bowman, 2005 points. Chase Briscoe, 2005 points. Alex Bowman, his 6th playoffs. Chase Briscoe, his 2nd. Harrison Burton, 2005 points, his 1st playoff. Ty Gibbs, 2004 points, his 1st playoff. And then Mark Truex Jr., 2004 points, his 9th playoff. Preseason, I did a prediction of the playoffs. I got 12 of the 16. The 4 I did not have was Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric, and Harrison Burton. The 4 that I had in instead was Ross Chastain, Chris Buescher, Bubba Wallace, and Kyle Busch. So literally I had Buescher, Wallace, Chastain, Busch, 17, 18, 19, and 20th in points. Logano, Cindric, Suarez, Burton, and Briscoe were all behind them in points. So point-wise, I was right on the knot. With those wins, I wasn't. You know, and because I still like the winning you're in, I like those Game 7 moments. I like having it come down to that final corner at Daytona and having a new winner. Coming down the Darlington this year and having that new winner. I liked it, even though my drivers missed the playoffs, but I still like that format. If you look back in the olden days, I know a lot of people have talked this week about the drivers today. These aren't real champions because back in the day, back in the Winston Cup era. Yeah, but here's the thing, though. I've done some research from 1975 through 1992. In 1992, Alan Kulwicki did not have the best season. In, what was the other year that was really stood out from that? When I say not have the best season, I'm talking about wins, top 5s, top 10s, and average finish. 1990, Dale Earnhardt did not have the best average finish that year. He was tied the most top 10s. 1989, Rusty Wallace did not have the best average finish that year. Let's see what other year stands out here. When you get back in the late 70s, it was kind of the same guys that won everything. 1981, Bobby Allison had the best average finish, not Darrell Waltrip. Win-wise, let's see here. 1984, Darrell Waltrip had more wins than Terry Labonte. 1985, Bill Elliott had more wins. 1986, Tim Richmond had more wins. 1991, Davey Allison and Harry Gant had more wins. 92, Allison and Bill Elliott had more wins. So yeah, we can do that every year when the old system and the new system. Guess what? Back in the olden days, you didn't have those Game 7 moments in NASCAR. You didn't have those championship finale. We can sell to marketers. We can sell to sponsors. We can sell to the fans. We're going to crown a champion at this race, no matter what. Back in the day, yes, Atlanta was the finale, but typically Dale Earnhardt won at Rockingham 2 weeks before, or we had drivers win before, or we had all Jimmy Johnson's got to do is finish 29th or 35th or 31st or whatever it was to win a championship. Or in 2003, Matt Kenseth finished last and was champion. Explain that to someone. So our champion of the year finished last in the last race, but he's still our champion. Now, when the playoffs, when we go to that finale, all but 1 year, you've had to win it to be champion and to win the race. So I like that better. So what I've done, I've gone through the playoffs. So Atlanta, I based the points off the spring race. Watkins Glen, I based the points off of all the average of all the road courses. And Bristol off the spring race. The 4 with the lowest amount of points: William Byron, Joey Logano, Chase Briscoe, Harrison Burton. I did the same thing with the spring Kansas, spring Talladega, average points at a road course for the Roval. Ty Gibbs, unfortunately, because of the penalty, Denny Hamlin, Daniel Suarez, and Austin Cindric. And then I did the same thing around the 8. I did Las Vegas, the points from the spring. Homestead, I did the average amount of points on the intermediate tracks. Martinsville from the spring comes up to Truex, Bowman, Brad Keselowski, and Christopher Bell. That gives me a championship 4 of Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, and Kyle Larson, with Tyler Reddick as the champion, based on points at Phoenix earlier in the year. Now, that's what the points come out to be. Now, if I had a wish list, if I could say, okay, Magic 8 Ball, here's who I want in the championship 4, make it happen. Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, Joey Logano, William Byron. 4 of my favorite drivers. But you know what? And Hamlin's champion. I want Hamlin to win that championship because I'm tired of seeing stuff online. But you know what? It is what it is. Points say, based on so far this year, Reddick, Blaney, Elliott, Larson. We'll see how accurate I am with Tyler Reddick as the champion. I know there's been a bit of news today with the charter agreement. Apparently, all but 2 teams did sign it. The holdouts for 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. We know Front Row is in the process of buying a charter from Stewart-Haas to expand to 3 cars. We know the rumor was 2311 was trying to buy a charter. The newest rumor is it was RFK as well. So someone's trying to buy the extra charter because we know Front Row bought one and we know Haas kept one. And there's 2 other ones we don't know where they're going yet. Oh, Trackhouse bought one. Trackhouse announced they bought one. So we don't know where the other one's going yet. I did also read an article from Claire Lang on X that Bubba Wallace's contract for 2025 extension is based off the charter agreement that has not been signed by 2311. So that is very intriguing. Very interesting to see where that ends up. Front Row only have 2 drivers signed of the supposedly 3 charters they have or had. I know a lot of people online are talking about NASCAR strong-arming these teams and signing this charter agreement. Obviously, they didn't because there's 2 teams that didn't. We don't know what's going to happen. One of the things that said in some of the stuff was NASCAR will revoke those charters. And there's also a rule in the old charter, in the last charter agreement, that if you're in the bottom 3 years in a row, NASCAR would revoke a charter, and they did not. Rick Ware-Weiss kept theirs. So I don't think they're going to revoke those charters. I think there's going to be some more negotiation, some more talk, and then they'll eventually make it happen. And apparently it was also announced that there are 4 other charters that NASCAR has, that they are holding those for a new manufacturer. I don't hate it, as long as when that does come into place, if we do have Honda or another manufacturer come in, that if they get those 4 charters, fine. The current charters were given to the teams initially, and then teams have bought it and sold since, but that we expand the field to 43. That way we can have open cars. That's all I ask. But yeah, I personally like the charter system because the fact that we have owners in the sport that invest millions and millions of dollars, and it's like a franchise. The average person is not going to go buy a NASCAR Cup Series team or build one. The average person isn't going to buy an NFL franchise. The average person isn't going to buy a major sports franchise. Only the elite of the elite can do that. in the old system before charters, Joe Schmatnik down the street can go buy an old NASCAR car and run it in a cup race. But then you had start and park teams. You had teams that didn't try. They were just showing up. They want everyone to try. Just like collective bargaining in other sports, and they have revenue sharing in other sports to get the franchises to try. That's what NASCAR is trying to get to. You have the Xfinity Series, you have the Truck Series for, Larry the Tree mechanic who wants to get into racing. NASCAR Cup Series is for the elite of the elite, and I'm good with that. I will watch. All right, that is the playoff prediction show. Playoffs start tomorrow. We'll have the Atlanta preview coming shortly. As always, thanks for watching Robert Sports Show. Don't just have a great night. Have a spiffy night. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader, sports channel content.